Hi everyone, Sabrina Fox here from Fox Legal Training. I was delighted to hear about the changes to Multiversity's deal this week, and I wanted to run through some of them with you. I also wanted to highlight some flexibility that remains in the deal that I think lenders should be aware of. I'll share my screen and show you first the pricing supplement. So in the pricing supplement, which is on the screen now, the changes to the description of notes are listed here. There was also some wins on debt capacity, which is great. If you're ever looking at a deal that has a 200% basket on contribution debt or available RP capacity, definitely a good idea to take it down to 100%. And then we go back to the limitation on restricted payments covenant, which, as we can see, has had some changes, including a J-Crew blocker added. The J-Crew blocker will restrict the borrower from transferring material intellectual property, which is defined here, but bear in mind that it does not apply to other assets, which the borrower would still be able to use its existing restricted payments capacity to move. So what does that restricted payments capacity look like for Multiversity? Well, first of all, I want to point out that in light of Altice moving assets to unrestricted subs, a couple of things in the builder basket. Normally, the builder basket requires that no default or event of default is outstanding and that the borrower can meet its ratio test before it can access what over time becomes the most significant source of capacity for restricted payments. But in this deal, the borrower can access their starter amount of the greater of 110 million euros and 35% of consolidated EBITDA, even if they have an event of default, indeed a payment default outstanding, and they cannot meet their fixed charge coverage ratio. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, J-Crew blockers, as I mentioned, will restrict the transfer of material intellectual property, but they will not restrict the transfer of other assets. So in this deal, there is some other capacity here I want to run through. There's a general basket for 120 million and 40% of consolidated EBITDA. There's this restricted payments, leverage-based carve-out for specified asset dispositions, as long as the leverage ratio does not exceed 5.5 times, and that's on a senior secured net leverage basis. And then there is the 4.5 times leverage-based carve-out as well, which is also based on senior secured net leverage. In addition to that, the borrower has permitted investments capacity for investments that could be used in unrestricted subsidiaries. And here, the similar businesses basket at the greater of 120 million and 40% of consolidated EBITDA, and the greater of 90 million and 30% of consolidated EBITDA. And then there's also the basket based on consolidated senior secured net leverage, out of which this sort of worse prong was removed. So the borrower will be able to use all of that aggregated capacity to make investments in unrestricted subsidiaries, which are not material intellectual property. In addition to that, the borrower could also use this capacity to make what we call backdoor dividends by investing in unrestricted subsidiaries and then transferring those assets to equity or an affiliate. So this paragraph here is something I would suggest that lenders keep an eye out for. And it sums up what it says in the last sentence better than I could sum up by rereading the rest of it. Basically, permitted investments will not be deemed restricted payments pursuant to Clause 1 of the definition. Clause 1 of the definition of restricted payment is dividends and distributions to equity, and which you can see here. So what it basically says is borrowers can use their investments capacity to make dividends by way of unrestricted subsidiaries. So something to keep in mind for future deals if that is something that you would not like the borrower to do. So in sum, great wins on Multiversity. Really love to see covenant changes happening. Also, J-Crew blockers can be very effective, but bear in mind that material IP may not be the crown jewel in the borrower that you're looking for. And finally, perhaps best to look at overall capacity to make investments in unrestricted subsidiaries, which includes any restricted payments capacity and aggregated permitted investments capacity as well. All of these points are taught in my Leverage Finance Covenant training course, which you can find out more about at www.foxlegaltraining.com. I hope you have a great weekend, everyone. Take care.